February live cattle were moderately higher after a lower start to the day, and they ended up settling just below the 50-day moving average. So that has been a big point of resistance overhead. Again, a little bit of a pullback from it earlier in the day, but then came back to it by the end of the day. So really just kind of setting up under that key resistance still. Thinking about what it might do here. So should be interesting. And we have a lot of weather to be watching at the moment. We had a major storm come in, a lot of ice and colder temperatures, but not the polar vortex that we're expecting for next week. Either way, a lot of ice, and that shuttered or short-term shut down two of the major packing plants. However, they have resumed operations, but that could be, well, temporary as the next big storm system comes through. This could be a bigger one. And on the back end of that, we have some very, very cold temperatures across the United States. So we'll have to see how that affects our packing plants. But we are looking for this big snow in some areas, 6 to 13 inches, followed by a polar blast of a lot of areas struggling to get over the 0-degree mark. For a good portion of early next week, wind temperatures have been talked about in the negative 35-degree range. And so that has a lot of effects on the cattle market. For one, it can affect slaughter. You can have packing plants shut down temporarily. When that happens, there's not a need for upfront animals as much, so your cash basis really gets put under pressure in that situation. However, at the same time, this cold weather can affect animals. Not only will they struggle to keep weight on, but winter kill could become an issue as well. So that poses a bit of a problem on the production side of things. And then finally, and probably most complex, is how does that affect consumers? Are we going to see a flood of consumers go to their grocery stores, go to their butcher's counters, buy a bunch of beef to put into their freezers in preparation for the big snow and the cold temperatures that are coming up? In recent history, we've actually seen quite a lot of that. So maybe that could be happening going into this weekend and into early next week as well. So lots of different question marks happening with these big weather events that are coming through. It is certainly a different weather pattern than what we were seeing in December. And this will be something that affects the cattle market going forward, at least through the month of January, it seems. We also did have our weekly export sales this morning, and for the most part, pretty good sales. 12,200 metric tons. It's a pretty good way to start the marketing year or start the calendar year. But there was one caveat, one asterisk there. We did have a 900 metric ton reduction rollover from last year. So just a little bit less than what was initially the first number I saw. But that sort of thing happens as we roll the calendar over. So not a big deal there. And certainly not one of the worst export sales weeks we've seen in recent history. So lots to pay attention to, lots of weather coming through. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on those technicals as well. Everybody have a wonderful day and stay safe.